Hey guys, this is Mindcast with your host, Kevin Seaman, where we talk about what's going on in your head. Hi, this is your host of Mindcast, Kevin Seaman. This week's topic is called When You Can See It, You Can Do It. Using visualization to improve your personal performance. Performing edge visualization is a habit worth pursuing. Visualizing your success is a simple and very useful method of helping you envision and direct your future. Everybody visualizes, just like everybody talks to themselves. It is one of the three things we actually can control. You have control over the words you use in your head internally and to others externally, the pictures in effect your visualizations, and your actions. The empowering difference is when you control what you say to yourself and when you visualize yourself accomplishing cognitively and consciously, you direct yourself mindfully in the direction that will most benefit you. You literally activate an area of your brain that helps you accomplish what you are seeking to do. But more about that in a moment. So I have a question for you. If I ask you not to think of an elephant, don't think of an elephant. Don't think of an elephant. What do you visualize? You visualize a picture of an elephant. Then you try to erase or remove it, but you still must first think about it and picture that elephant in your mind before you can not think of it. There are a couple of very interesting and remarkable things about this little experiment. First, did you think of the word elephant or a picture of an elephant? A picture, because when we visualize, we primarily use pictures, not words. That's how our brains work. Second, did you notice, regardless of how hard you tried, you could not keep yourself from thinking about a picture of an elephant? Even when I told you several times not to. That is because when we are directed to think about or not think about something, we visualize it in the same way, as a positive. This is super valuable to know and to understand. This is also why you should only focus on what you want and tell yourself what you want. What do I mean? If I say to someone, you need to stop smoking, they will visualize in their head them smoking and connect what they perceive to be all the emotions they have about the act of smoking. This actually reinforces the habit of smoking in their head because that's what they picture and that's what they connect emotionally to. They associate smoking with pleasure. But if I ask them to picture what it's like to have clean air in their lungs every time they breathe, they will begin to associate that with pleasure. Now, if I ask them to picture their teen or their preteen smoking and ask them how they feel, they probably won't associate pleasure to that. That's called an associative leverage, a method of associative conditioning. Next, if I ask them to think about their son or daughter firing up a cigarette, every time they light one, that leverage builds and becomes stronger, but in a negative way. If they do this every time they light up a cigarette, that negative association gets stronger and stronger. They will really begin to hate that habit. So I have another question for you. If you have kids or younger siblings, do you think they do things based on what you say, or are they more influenced by what you do? So when parents tell their children not to smoke, yet they themselves are smokers, they will not be effective in influencing them in a positive way. But let's get back to why, when you control what you say to yourself and what you visualize yourself accomplishing cognitively and consciously, you direct yourself in the direction you are seeking to go. It is because you stimulate an area of your brain that helps you accomplish what you are seeking to do. This very action activates a filtering system in your brain called the reticular cortex, which controls a reticular activating system, also known as the RAS, in your mind. The RAS filters all the information that you see, hear, feel, smell, and taste, and looks for patterns of consistency in those stimuli. So it filters what you're getting, and if it appears that there is a consistency, it looks for more. This is very valuable. The RAS has the job of sorting out literally millions of bits of information for the brain to focus on and process. We would go crazy if it weren't for the RAS. Our conscious mind would be overwhelmed. The RAS limits what we consciously focus on, and that saves us time and energy. Your RAS helps you find more of what you like. But here's the thing. If you focus on things you don't want, your RAS looks for more of that too. This is why it's so crucial to control what we choose to focus on. The only place where your dreams become impossible is in your own thinking. Robert Schuller. Meaningful achievements begin with a positive vision that we believe in and commit to with passion. When you learn how to step into that vision, you begin applying all of your knowledge, power, and your persistence to turn that vision into a reality. When you visualize your success with as many of your 5 senses or modalities as possible. Different people imagine differently. Some utilize primarily visual senses, others kinesthetic, others auditory, and still others, no doubt to a lesser extent, olfactory or gustatory. When you visualize using other senses conjunctively, you help it become even more real. Your goal is to imagine the future as vividly as possible. After all, most people have no problem imagining the worst. So that proves that they're good at imagining. You just need to get really good at imagining more positive experiences. The more senses that are involved, the better, because multiple modalities make more neural connections in the brain than one single modality does. This not only intensifies your clarity, but it also drives the vision deeper into your subconscious. Did you know that your subconscious is unable to distinguish between a visualized event and a real experienced event? The success of your outcome when using visualization will be affected by and relative to these 4 qualities. Number 1, your emotional content. How vividly you are able to connect emotionally with your visual imagery. Number 2, your clarity, the crystal clear picture you generate in your mind's eye while visualizing. Number 3, your consistency, how often or the frequency with which you saturate your mind with the visual images of what you want. Number 4, your duration, the length of time you use visual imagery to focus yourself on your outcome, utilizing visualization to improve your success ratio. When working with basketball players using the Winning Mindset program, they've improved their shooting remarkably by using this visualization strategy. If you practice for 1 hour a day and visualize for 1 hour a day, you have in effect completed 2 hours of shooting. Your subconscious mind records it the same either way. Now here's the question. When you shoot, do you ever miss? Even the best player in the world would have to answer honestly with, "Of course I do." But how about when you shoot in your mind? Over 97% of all the athletes I've queried say they have always succeeded in their imagined visions. So, by shooting baskets in your mind's eye for the same period of time as you physically practice, you not only doubled your shooting time, but you also just improved your shooting ratio. Now that's valuable. Okay, so you may be saying to yourself, "That's great, Kevin, but I don't care about shooting baskets and I don't play basketball." Yeah, well, guess what? This pertains to any skill you want to get better at. The more you visualize, the better you will get at that visualized skill. It is driven into your subconscious through repetition. But first, you need to be able to actually do it on a basic level physically. Think of it as another form of practice, one you can do in addition to your other practice. As a coach, the single most important thing to me is, and always will be, results. It's not about what you know or how much you know. It's how and when you use it that will determine your results. In other words, it's not what you know, it's what you do that makes you successful. So if you want to get good at this, you will need to do it often. Athletes have long used mental imagery prior to an event, just as warriors have before engaging in battle. As I said earlier, your subconscious mind can't really tell the difference between experiencing something vividly in your mind and actually doing it. In fact, the neuroreceptors in your brain respond almost identically. Your thoughts, self-talk, inner visions or visualizations are electrochemical events that affect your performance on every level. Visualization is a skill that needs to be honed, just like any skill. Remember what I said previously? When visualizing, focus on these 4 keys: vividness, clarity, consistency, and duration. When using the 4 qualities for visual success of vividness, frequency, consistency, and duration, you will see amazing results in your overall performance. This may just be the missing key that will unlock your potential and take you to a level that you've never before achieved. When you see yourself performing with intensity and emotion over and over, focused on the outcome that you expect, your subconscious accepts that as real. Your beliefs become your reality. It will be convincingly apparent by your outward confidence that you are completely committed towards your directive, and you will perform as though it were just another victory. See it first in your mind's eye, and then achieve it in your life. So guess what? I have another question for you. Have you ever woken up from a dream in a sweat after having been thrashing around in bed asleep and thought, wow, I'm glad that was a dream. I'm so glad that wasn't real. But it seemed real, didn't it? Your subconscious mind did not know the difference. But the sweat was real. The elevation of your heart rate was real. Your panic was very real. That's the same way your subconscious mind processes visualization. Have you ever worried about something and then been emotionally encroached in that worry? That is a negative visualization or hallucination. These are fueled by fear-based emotions. Often, when you think of these types of negative visualizations, they are outside of your circle of influence. When you visualize things that you're going to do or perform, these things are within your circle of influence. So is your subconscious. I personally and willfully have used visualization hundreds of times in my life. Nearly every time I've used controlled visualization, it has helped me to leverage success. I have also unwillingly visualized thousands of times. Remember when I talked about focusing on what you want rather than focusing on what you don't want or what you fear? Here's a crazy question for you. How heavy is a glass of water? Not much, right? But it depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, no problem. If I hold it for an hour, my arm will begin to ache. If I hold it for a day, my arm will feel numb and paralyzed, and it will affect me both mentally and physically. In each case, the weight of the glass doesn't change, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes. The stresses and worries in life are like that glass of water. You think of them for a little while, and not much happens. You think about them longer, and they begin to cause pain. And if you think about them all day long, it begins to cause damage. You will be affected internally, incapable of thinking about much of anything else. It's important to remember to let go of your stresses and don't harbor them. Oh, and you should probably drink more water. I have personally used and taught directed visualization as a coach for use in competition for decades. But it goes so much further than that. I've also used it to foresee how an event I'm involved in will play out, how I will teach a workshop, present a teaching tool, interact in an important meeting, discuss important topics during a planning phase. I've used it to lay out books and videos in my mind, and so many ways prior to doing whatever it is I'm about to perform. You'll see it when you believe it. Dr. Wayne Dyer. One of the qualities that distinguishes high achievers in all areas of life is their ability to focus with clarity, persistence, and definition beyond the average person. It is this absolute razor-sharp imagery that will bring you success. Whatever you constantly think about and focus on, you move towards and eventually will become. When I worked with children in the martial arts, my greatest challenge was to capture the focused attention of my adolescent students for the duration of the lesson. One of the analogies I use to explain the importance of focus is this. You can have the most expensive camera, made and purchase the very best film. You can also have the most incredible subject, an expansive canyon, a breathtaking sunset, a beautiful, bright flower, or the face of someone you love very much. Now, if you begin to take that picture and your camera is not in focus, what do you get? Your camera will not record an image that is blurry and hard to see the way you want it. You will have an image that is not memorable or sharp. This is what your mind is like. In order to get a sharp, long-lasting image of what you've seen or learned, you must focus your mind. Now, it's up to you. Do you want a box of blurry, unfocused pictures of what you learned or an album of beautiful, sharp memories? Your focus is the key. The sharper your memories are, the clearer they will be when you play them over and over in your mind. This example is so effective that students have often mentioned the focus concept to me many years later and how they remember the day I explained it to them. Okay, now I'm going to share an exercise you can use to help you understand one of the ways you can use visualization to improve your outcome. First, make sure you're in a place where you're undistracted and you have time to think without interruption. Now sit comfortably or lay on your back on the floor with your eyes closed. Focus on an event, task, or challenge you have in the near future. See yourself approaching the task with a calm, self-assuredness, and focused on absolute success. Visualize yourself as though you are looking through a camera with total sharpness and complete clarity. Now, in your mind's eye, see yourself standing and feel the emotion of that total success you are about to achieve. Visualize the task you are completing in absolute detail, with the colors, textures, sounds, and feelings that make this visualization as real as possible. Now, see yourself completing the task with absolute certainty and boldness. It is as if you were meant to do this effortlessly and masterfully. Once you have completed the event in your mind's eye, begin again at the start as you once again approach the task, this time with even more confidence and familiarity. Okay, now run the visual scene through your head from beginning to end 5 or 6 times, each time ending with the absolute success you have achieved completing the challenge with clarity and assurance. When you are ready to approach your task, you will have succeeded at it so many times in your head that subconsciously it will feel as though you have already succeeded. Every great speaker, every great athlete, and every great performer uses this valuable technique to assure their success time and time again. If you need to, listen to this part of the Mindcast a couple of times to help you understand and practice the qualities and process of visualization. I have a favorite saying: repetition is the mother of skill. The more you practice this, as with anything, the more familiar you will become with using it, and the more effective it will be. Thank you, and thank you for subscribing to Mindcast. I am overwhelmed with the responses I've gotten by listeners. To reach out to me, drop me a line at kevin@thewinningmindset.com. And please share this podcast with your friends. I've really enjoyed presenting this episode on Performing Edge visualization. Keep this in your mental toolbox. This is a very valuable skill to develop. When you can see it, you can do it. Until next time, this is Kevin Seaman, and this is Mindcast.